Alright guys, hope everybody's having a good evening. Took the car out, we're back from vacation, went back east to visit family, but took the car out when I got home and just took it around the block, and it sounded like I either had a fouled plug or an exhaust leak, or maybe both. But since I wanted to check this new exhaust, the good thing is the tailpipes aren't rattling on anything. I did have to sorry guys, I did have to, if you notice the angle, I did have to lean them in a little bit because we have those BMR upper torque box rails on the top of the frame rail. So I had to lean them in a little bit to clear those. So the tips aren't perfectly square, but I don't care about that. I'd rather have them angled than rattle against that frame rail up there and that torque box arm reinforcement. But nonetheless, doing some research on the easiest way to find exhaust leaks, and came across one using a shop vac and a smoke machine. So I do have my little smoke machine here that I made a few years back. I got it, did follow directions from Brutal's little homemade Home Depot smoke machine. I think that cost me like $15 to make. So you just set your shop vac to blow out air instead of suck in air. So you just basically move the hose from the front to the back. And then I had where the air intake is, I just put the hose for the smoke machine, so it's blowing through smoke. And I found these clamps over here are not sealing hardly at all, and I'll show you. So I got to figure out something better to. These are leaking pretty good on this side, not on this side, on this side, because the flow tubes are not perfectly round. They got dented a little bit, so they're leaking, and both of them are leaking. I didn't really feel anything at this joint, and I didn't feel anything up at the collector, and I didn't see any smoke. All the smoke was back in this area. So, and then yeah, this is all good right here. So yeah, right here, these guys are okay. Those have got the band clamps on there, but they're not crushed. These tailpipes weren't crushed or anything, so those are working. But again, there's some irregularities in these flow tubes, so either got to replace those, deal with the leak, or find another way to clamp that on there. Some people have been using putty and stuff like that. I'm not sure what I want to do with that. So I just need to make sure that this can come off easy right here when we go to the track to take the street mufflers off. So I got to figure out my best plan of action there. Again, maybe I'll just weld it up and take it off right here. I do want to keep the catalytic converters on the car for street driving. And so those can come off for racing, and just put the straight extensions on. That would be an option. But anyway, if you can see this is kind of dented right here, so there's air coming out. So if anybody's got any ideas how to make those seal up good, they're both leaking. I'd rather not buy a new set of flow tubes if I don't have to. But anyway, that's what I found there. Yesterday I took out, I changed the jets down to 72s in the primary and put a 5.5 power valve in. And I did swap out to the Holley blue gaskets in the front and rear bowls. I was a little upset to find in the rear bowl that he did not put jet extensions on this, since this was supposed to be set up for racing. You should have the jet extensions in the back. So there's no notched float bowl and no jet extensions. So I'll have to do that somewhere down the line. I'm not too concerned right now because we probably won't race until January. So anyway, I kind of went through, retightened everything. I retorqued the intake manifold last night. And I swapped the plugs. I had the NGKs in here that I had cleaned up. I took the torch to them and cleaned them all up. So the smallest jet I have, it still seemed like it was going rich, but not as rich as before. And I'll show you the plugs I pulled out. It looks like they were starting to clean up a little bit driving around the block. But still, the AFR gauge, obviously the idle circuit, I can get pretty dialed into 13.5, 14. But as soon as you start taking off, it just starts going to the rich side on the AFR gauge. So again, the smallest jets I have are 70s. So I can take out the 72s in the front and put 70s. And then I did place a small order with Summit. So I'm going to put a inline fuel filter before the carburetor. And I'm going to put a shutoff valve right here. That way I can, if the car sits for a while, I can drain the bowls, shut the fuel off and drain the bowls down. And it'll also help with jet changes. I won't be leaking so much fuel. And one thing, if you do a setup like this where you're still using a in-tank pump and regulating it down with a return style fuel pressure regulator, you do have to, when you go to change your jets, you have to you have to undo your gas cap and let the pressure out of the tank, because once you let take a screw out here once you take one of the bolts out, it'll just keep flowing gas from the pressure in the tank. So that's something I learned rather quickly, and also another reason I was like, a shutoff valve will be good. But anyway, so that's something I found out, and maybe a little tip for you guys, if anybody is doing this, trying to keep the stock in-tank pump, make sure you relieve the pressure on your gas cap, or the pressure will keep pushing fuel into the fuel bowl when you're trying to change your jets. So anyway, here's the plugs that came out. These are 1 through 4 and 5 through 8. And if you look, when they were all black, so if you can see, they were starting to clean up from driving around, and they're sooty, but they're not gas soaked, so that much is good. This one I put on the wire wheel just to see what I could clean with the on the little wire brush there. So don't pay any mind to that one. But yeah, here's like 5. So yeah, this one was starting to clean up some, and this was just from maybe like a 4-mile drive around the neighborhood the other day. I do have video of that, but the exhaust leak was kind of bothering me. So I don't know if I'll post that or not, but nonetheless, I took these out. I put in some NGKs, and we'll try to go around the block again. Like I said, I retorqued the intake, and just going over this exhaust, found some exhaust leaks. So we'll see if we can get that squared away and make sure we don't have any plugs fouling out and all that kind of stuff. So that's the update, guys. Like I said, what I got coming from Summit is that a fuel filter and a shutoff valve, fresh set of plugs, just some odds and ends, and we'll go from there. Hopefully we'll get it out and drive it around the block after work tomorrow. Oh, and I changed all the shock settings today. So I set these up for these street settings. So the front compression 1 to 4, I set them at 2 right in the middle, and the rebound they suggest 4 to 8. I set them at 6, and the rear for the street, again, compression 0 to 3, so I set them at 2, and rebound 2 to 5, so I set them at 4. So that's how they're set for the streets. And I do have all my settings what they were before, but I've got here's their recommended drag race settings down here. This is from QA1. So got all that. I'm going to go just double check my header bolts, but I have re-cinched those down, and I don't think the leak is up here. But anyway, I don't think there is a leak up here, a header leak, but I did order a fresh set of exhaust header gaskets anyway, just to have. So we got just a few little things. The intake did need to be retorqued, so that was good that I went ahead and did that. And then we'll see if that affects air fuel at all. If anything, I think it would have leaned it out. So instead of having it go rich. But that's where we're at, guys. I'm gonna run through these header bolts real quick and then call it a night out here. But anyway, wanted to show you guys the little setup for kind of pressurizing your exhaust system and looking, or you can just feel around for leaks. Those daggone those clamps, I mean, you could feel the air coming out of them just with your hand. So we'll go from there, see what I can figure out on that. But yeah, easy little setup, just a couple rags and in the tailpipe to pressurize it. Yeah, so we were definitely running a little rich. That's out of the tailpipe. Of course, their tailpipes weren't brand new, but anyway, that's the update, guys. I'll get back at you tomorrow when we drive it around and see if see where we're at. I may have to order some even smaller jets for that front down and get a set in the 60s, but we can go down to a 70 for right now and see if that leans it out a little bit for the cruise around area. Haven't even got into the wide open throttle yet, but nonetheless, that's where we're at, guys. Hope everybody has a great night. Thank you.